I just have to get out of this burnout. I'll set up some goals and I'll be good. And you get to your first goal and you're like, I don't want to do it. Hello, and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. Today I wanted to do a little video about demand avoidance. So what is demand avoidance? If you have never heard of demand avoidance before, don't be surprised. It's actually not a term that you would come across if you're not doing your research on ADHD and autism. Demand avoidance in the medical world is known as pathological demand avoidance because, of course, we have to pathologize everything. And the problem with demand avoidance is the medical profession sees it in very extreme terms, and certainly it can be very extreme. And if your demand avoidance doesn't fit the parameters of pathological demand avoidance, then you might not know that you have it. This is what happened to me. I went through the list for pathological demand avoidance. I did the whole survey bit and I was like, yay, something that I don't have. Super, that's exciting. And that was it. I was like, yeah, don't have demand avoidance. Awesome. And just went about my life. And then the delightful and wonderful Neurodivergent Lou, if you haven't come across her, she is on TikTok and on Instagram. I will put a link to her stuff in the description. She is brilliant. On Instagram, she posts slides. They're very, very simple and easy to understand. And she manages to capture the most important information. She will teach you about different traits related to autism. She will also give you different perspectives on how they might be impacting your life. She does a lot of really helpful stuff. She's so good. She's a brilliant educator. So I was watching some slides on Instagram from Neurodivergent Lou about demand avoidance. And I was like, I do that. That's interesting. I never thought it would look like that. Oh, I do that too. So it turns out I have demand avoidance. My demand avoidance is pretty internalized. So this is the other thing I think. If you are a high masking individual, why did your mask develop? To people please, probably. To make you fit in, to make you not get bullied, to make you acceptable, those sorts of things. For me, I'm a high masking individual, and the biggest driver was my mom. Bless her heart, not that she knew it was happening. I always wanted to please my mom. I wanted to be a good girl for my mom. This started at a very, very young age, an age where if one didn't get one's way, one might have a tantrum. And I learned very quickly that tantrums were bad, naughty. Shouldn't have tantrums, very naughty. And so I didn't have tantrums because I didn't want to be a naughty girl. And so I internalized everything. So what happened is what would have developed into meltdowns developed into shutdowns. And I disappeared and sometimes go nonverbal. It also means that I don't have a lot of the coping mechanisms that are needed to cope with life. But one of the side effects of this whole situation, and all of this is subconscious, right? It's only when you start digging, you start to figure this stuff out. I didn't want to be naughty. I knew that rebelliousness was naughty. My brother was very rebellious as a teenager, and I could not fathom how it was possible to be rebellious. It was a mystery to me. Everything that he was doing, and he seemed to do so easily, just seemed absolutely impossible to me. And the main reason was I didn't want to hurt my mom. I didn't want to upset my mom. How could he do those things when he knew it would upset her? And so all of my rebellious nature was internalized. And this became my demand avoidance. Now, there is quite a lot of research that's going on in the sector right now. And some of that research is suggesting that our demand avoidance and our rejection sensitivity are both related to the social expectations and other expectations that society puts upon us. Because we're not able to meet those social expectations, we have a response to that. Sometimes that response is the great pain of rejection sensitivity, and sometimes that response is, hell no, I will not. So the expectation that we're constantly going to be catering to everybody else's situations can result in us having an external or internal feeling of, no, I'm not going to. And that can show up in really weird places for fun. Funsies. So the challenge that you might face with demand avoidance is that a lot of the stuff that is suggested for people to help them develop their lives, to improve and grow, self-help kind of stuff, a lot of that stuff's going to make you really mad. And so you might be wondering, okay, I just have to get out of this burnout. I'll set up some goals. I check some YouTube channels, do everything that they say, and I'll be good. And you get to your first goal and you're like, wow, amazing. I don't want to do it. Okay. And the thing is, this is not a tantrum, right? A tantrum is like, nah, I don't want to. A tantrum is a reaction to something. Yes, it is a rebellion to something. Yes, but it isn't a wall. And demand avoidance is a brick wall. It is immovable. You cannot go under or around or over it. You might be able to knock it down. You might be able to find a way over it. But the problem is, if you force your way around the wall, you're only going to make it bigger and stronger next time. So you have to kind of figure out where the wall's coming from and see if there's another way to go about this. Otherwise, you might make it worse next time. So this is kind of what's happened to me. For example, with weight loss, over the years, I would try exercise, I would try diets and things like that. Originally, I could maintain them for 3 weeks. Now I can't even do it for a day. It got to the point where it's 3 days. For quite a long time, it's 3 days now. It's not even for a day. And a lot of that is demand avoidance. A lot of it is ADHD, can't stick to routines, but a lot of it is demand avoidance. So the way that demand avoidance may show up in your life, goals. If people are expecting you to have goals and reach goals and put goals on pieces of paper and have like resolutions, those kind of things, do not be surprised if once you write down your goal, you refuse to walk towards it. Accountability. Whenever you're doing something like weight loss, like exercise, like learning a new language, they always say, tell a friend, get accountability. If I tell anyone, I stop doing it. I thought it was just my mother. It's not. Anyone, I will stop doing it. So I now cannot tell anyone if I decide to do anything because I'll just stop and I can't get around it. I've tried a lot of things. Can't get around it. Nudging. You know, if people say to you, oh, I'll just give you a nudge to push you in the right direction. These ideas of little pushes that people are giving you that could be to encourage you to go out and speak publicly, or to encourage you to exercise, or encourage you to stop eating chocolate, whatever it is. These little friendly nudges, demand avoidance nightmares. You will have a reaction and it's probably going to be much bigger than the nudge was. Doing things together to keep us motivated. So this is similar to the accountability, right? The accountability might just be telling someone, but maybe let's get into running and we'll run a little bit every day. And your friend turns up at your door on the 3rd day and you're like, I'm not going anywhere. Nope, not gonna. Everyone join in. If you're at school, university, school, in a new job, any kind of employment, ice-breaking situation, do not be surprised if you are struggling. Everyone join in. No, I don't want to. Now, a lot of these, when you dig down, I think you'll find that a lot of these are somehow related to pain, to inability to keep doing stuff in the past, to past trauma. So in a way, it is our body, our brain's response to past trauma. This is us protecting ourselves. The problem is, how do we progress if we're protecting ourselves all the time? Don't look at me, I don't have an answer for this one. If you do, please drop it in the comments. Let us all know, please. Please do. Once you identify that this is what you're dealing with, there are things that you can do to find ways around it. Like for me, no accountability. That is a core premise, a core point, no accountability. It has to be done essentially in secret, which is much easier to do if you're living by yourself. Whenever I tried to do stuff as a teenager, of course, my whole family was watching. So everybody was judging. I remember after working for probably a good solid couple of months to lose weight. My mum telling me one day, oh, I can see the shape of your waist. It looks lovely. That was it. The end. She didn't know. And honestly, I don't think there's anything that she could have done or said. No comment she made would have fixed that situation or would have prevented that from happening. There's no different thing she could have said. You know, even if she'd have said, wow, you look amazing, the fact that she knew was enough to make my brain shut down. This stuff doesn't necessarily have to be logical. Like with the everyone join in thing, I think that's a major one for me because you know that the social situation is going to be difficult. You know that it's not going to quite work out as everybody else is having fun with your ice breaking. I remember one of my last jobs that I did, we were doing a whole, I don't know, was it team building, ice breaking, team building? Who knows? Anyway, there was a hula hoop involved. We all had to hold hands and we had to climb through the hula hoop while we were still connected to the other people and pass the hula hoop on to the next people. So here we are, autistic me watches the hula hoop go round the circle and goes, that looks like a dumb way to do that. So then invents my own way of doing it, which is faster and more efficient, and passes it on to the next person. And when I look at the rest of the circle, they're all looking at me literally with their mouths open. Why did you do it that way? And I was just like, well, that looked easier. Why didn't you consider a different way? You all just followed what had happened before. Anybody could have done that calculation. The immediate response from the whole circle to the fact that I had done something differently, that's exactly the kind of situation that means that in the future, everyone join in becomes traumatic. That wasn't particularly traumatic. It was actually kind of funny, especially because I was already diagnosed at that point. I knew what was happening. If we had a pre and post, the pre would be me going, oh my God, I'm such a weirdo. Why am I so weird? Why am I so different? Why am I so strange? Why do I have to always be the one that's so different? There's something wrong with me. Why am I always the weird person? And the post picture is me going, ha, I'll be my autism then. Righto, carry on. It didn't affect anyone, didn't hurt anyone. The comments were like water off a duck's back because I knew that I had assessed the situation, seen a better idea, done the better idea, speeded the thing on. There was nothing wrong with what I did. It was their reaction, but there was nothing wrong with anything that was happening, and I wasn't a wrong person. So the framing can make a massive difference. The problem is that we often don't know if we're late diagnosed. So we already have all of that trauma stacked up from all the years that we weren't diagnosed. And now suddenly we can apply to that situation, but we can't always change it. Weird ways that demand avoidance may show up in your life. Be prepared. Please do drop in the comments. Let me know, how does demand avoidance affect your life? How do you deal with it? You know, do you have coping mechanisms for this? Let me know in the comments, and please do like and subscribe. That really helps the channel. The channel is now available on Spotify, but the episodes are coming out quite a lot slower than they are here on YouTube. But if you wanted to listen to them on Spotify, you can do that. I also have a Patreon channel. The Patreon channel at the moment is kind of pretty dormant, but I do have little bits of handouts and stuff that go onto the Patreon channel. And I also have sexuality and gender course there. That is really for people who are at the very beginning of a journey into investigating their sexuality and their gender. If that's you, feel free to head over and have a look at that if it would be within your interest. That is all for now. Have a great week. See you next time. Bye.